Welcome back, and today I'm going to talk about the exciting subject of pensions. I understand you haven't fallen out of your seat just yet with excitement. However, imagine receiving a letter or an email saying, congratulations, you can retire 2 years early. Now, quick but important disclaimer here. By no means am I saying you are guaranteed to retire early by following the steps in this video. As with anything else, there's a number of variants here, and I think it would be really irresponsible to just throw an overpromised claim out there. I mean, who would even do that type of thing anyway?
The reforms that I'm announcing today for the average person could unlock an extra £1,000 a year on the value of their pension.
There's more about this in my next video, but for now, let's move on. Pensions are a very boring subject traditionally, and my goal is to excite you and engage you a little bit to carry out the simple steps needed to really make a difference. Now, this is part of an IFA Explains series, whereby I take complex subjects and simplify them to help you understand the fundamentals around your financial planning. So today we're going to think about our previous pensions. So for those of you that have got 1, 2, 5 or more previous pension pots in the background, not sure where they are, what they're doing, where they're invested, this video is for you. And if you like any of the content that you see, please feel free to like this video and subscribe for future videos. So first of all, why does it matter? Well, apart from the potential of retiring early, this is a very big number. No, this isn't the average salary for an IFA, far from it. But what this number represents is the amount of missing pensions there are in the UK alone. So there's such a big opportunity to reclaim this money and make sure you're on the right track. By following these simple steps, you can help reclaim your pension, put you on the right track, and make sure you've got the best possible foundation for future. Now, Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the period of time available for its completion. What does that mean? Well, if you give yourself a week to do a task, the chances are it's going to take a week. If you give yourself longer, it's going to take longer. I cannot begin to tell you the amount of people I speak to, potential clients, that will get round to doing something and they will do it, but they don't have a deadline in place. So what happens? I speak to them again in 6, 12 months time, and they're no further on. And for those of you that are like me, that are neurodivergent, if you have a deadline in place, that's always a positive. Now, the next thing to tackle is something I call housekeeping. So what I mean by that is getting all of the available information, getting your ducks in a row, and making sure you start with a good foundation. Now, you may have a number of letters somewhere filed away. So the first thing to do is gather all of that information, get it in front of you, and put it in some sort of order. Now, you can work however you want to work. If you're a bit more modern and you like to work with a spreadsheet and systems, that's absolutely fine. Or if you're like me, a bit more old school, you want a good old pen and paper. But any way you want to do it, it's about getting that information started. If you're unsure about your previous information, perhaps you haven't got the right dates in place, or you're unsure where your pension was with a particular job, then don't worry, your employer, your previous employer, has a duty to make sure that those records are kept. So if you haven't got the information, they will have. A good exercise I find is to bring up an old CV and expand upon that. So your CV should have where you worked and when you worked. Add 2 columns to that. 1, pension provider, and number 2, plan number. Now, those 2 simple things are enough to get all of the other information that you need in future. So by looking back on this CV, any information you don't have to hand about your pensions, your previous employer will do. So it's a case of contacting them, chasing them up, making sure that they provide the information that you need. Now, hopefully you won't be too overwhelmed at this stage, but if you're starting to feel like it's going to be a massive task, then do not worry. The next thing is to break things down into manageable tasks. So just like a 10K run, you wouldn't get up from nothing and run the 10K. You start by running around the block and then building upon that. So this is very similar. So make sure you allocate a period of time that's realistic and that you can work on this once a week, even if it's only 15 minutes. I've just had chocolate. Hopefully it won't show up in my teeth. Great for polyphenols. So that's the way I'm justifying it. So next thing is, once you have all of the initial information, to move or not to move, that is the question. By far the most common question I get asked about people's pensions: should I leave them where they are or move them? Now, there's a couple of things to consider here. Now, it might feel like it's more convenient to have all of your pensions in one place, and that's certainly a positive to think about. But by moving all of your pensions, the general rule is you will lose any entitlements, any benefits, or any protections you have in place. Now, the best thing to do is to contact your pension provider and make sure you are fully confident that everything has been outlined and you understand what is in place and what you could potentially lose. Now, there are up to 50 questions that I ask as a financial advisor on behalf of my clients, but here are the main ones to consider. Do you have any protected tax-free cash available? 25% of your pension is tax-free. However, if you had a pension, particularly in the 90s or before, there is a chance that you could have 30, 40, 50% or more tax-free entitlement. So by moving that, you're not going to have as much tax-free cash available at retirement. Number two, do you have any guaranteed annuity rates? An annuity is an option available upon retirement that will give you an income in exchange for an amount of money. Now, if you have a guaranteed annuity rate available, then this may way outweigh the current rates available. So it could end up that you're guaranteed a much higher amount. Third thing, do you have any other protections available? There are some protections built into older pensions which mean that your pension can't go below a certain performance level. So what that means in reality is, even in the years where there's economic uncertainty, you're still going to have a guaranteed minimum growth rate to your pension, which is really valuable. Number four, do you have a protected retirement age? Now, current rules state you can retire from age 55, rising to age 57 from 2028. However, you may have a protection in place which says you can take some or all of your pension early. And number five, quite an obvious one, but are there any admin costs or costs otherwise associated if I was to move my pension? So those are the main things to consider. However, as I mentioned, there are quite a few extra questions you could ask. If in doubt, please speak to an independent financial advisor to really make sure you're aware of all of your options and you're comfortable before you make any decisions. Now, if you are going to do this yourself and you decide to move any pensions, it's really important to understand both the process and the timelines associated with that pension provider. These can vary, and these, believe me, can be quite a source of frustration. So make sure you really understand this before you go ahead. So hopefully now you feel a little bit more confident and you've got a few things in place to help you get started on your pension journey. And in the next video, I'm going to be talking to you about workplace pensions. That's pensions if you are employed. So hopefully see you then. And in the meantime, stay mindful.